Hi guys, Dave in Texas here. What you're looking at is a heck of a project that we got brought to us. We are going to install new pickups in this, right? New Seymour Duncan pickups, okay, in this guitar. Really nice looking. Reminds me kind of the Charbels of yesteryear. This is a, let's see if I can read that right this time. The Claymore. Like the big axe, sorry, big sword, the Claymore sword, right? And it's definitely a 7-string. Let me show you all up this neck. Nice neck. Hockey style headstock, Claymore. We are going to put in the Seymour Duncan 7-string pickups. I think they're pronounced Nazgul pickups. Really? Yeah, I think that's how they're Nazgul Sentiment pickups, 7 and 6 strings. These are going to be 7, obviously, and we're going to go with the push pulls with new pots and a new Fender Top 5-way. To replace the 3-way that's in it. Now the problem is this guitar was built using a 3-way that was a very junky little piece of gear for sure. And I showed the owner of the problem with it in that the one he had was pretty much toast, but the only thing I had to replace it at the time was another 3-way. It looks like this, and that would fit in this guitar, you know, readily. Love that word, readily. But the problem is, guys, that would cut out a lot of tone he could generate with these pickups set up the way they should be set up with, you know, split coils. Go single coil humbucker on them. All right, let's see, show you what I'm talking about. Flip this guitar over, push that down, and you can see the top of this just barely is under the lip of this. You got it? Now, let's go to a real let's go to the real selector switch. Look at this. It is way over the top of it. He says, well, I don't mind if that's open. I said, well, no, I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do, guys, after I clean up that mess. Okay guys, now I'm going to do a hard wire up on the 7-string. Now all the parts have gotten in here. And we got support from Stuart McDonald, which I'm really thankful for those guys. They sent me this, alright? A new set of drawings with double the tone pots in there, right? Instead of singles like it's on their website. And those are new drawings from what I can see. You know, it's like, gee, I appreciate that. So we'll get a chance to use what I originally wanted to use because of the space requirements. Those other ones are just too darn big. You know, there's no space left. You know, they actually 30% bigger than these. And they do the same job. They split the pot. They split the pickups, all right? So, first things first, I take this little stylus here, which are tweezers with very sharp ends on them, and I score the back of the pots. And I cross hatch them. And the reason I do this is because they get a better adherence than a slick back on these things. Right? Now some people will go ahead and they'll solder up to the indented letters on these pots. But I would rather I'd rather go back to the old way of doing it. Score the pot, make sure you have a rough surface to work with. And as always, guys, clean your pots, because not only does your hand goo get on there, your oils and salts and stuff, but a lot of these pots will have that plastic residue left over on them that you don't want. You know, to try to fight through, have your flux try to have your flux fight through that hand residue, that plastic residue that's on these pots. And those that are shrunk wrap or on a blister card, yeah, they usually have that. So I've got to not only solder to the bottom of these, but also the sides of the tone ones. So you always make sure you do it fast, quick, and as low temperatures you can get it. So you don't cause any problems. Some of these legs on these pots, I'm looking at right this minute, will have multiple wires running to them. And those, I want to do it all at one time, and I have to come back and do them, a second time. Okie dokie. And right at the moment, I've got a lot of lead on these capacitors. And I've got to take those off, cut those leads down before I do any soldering work. So I got to get this into a compact area, right? I got to get these much closer to one another. Now the wires themselves, these wires, right, that I'm showing you right now, no big deal about twisting and bending those to fit within a cavity, as long as you don't push too much against the solder area. But these caps with their hard legs, yes, that's a different issue altogether. Now you can't go back and add length to it when you cut them, but what you can do, obviously, is get a new cap. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do right now, since I'm still kind of working in the dark about the space I'm going to be allowed, I'm going to go through here and cut these caps down to a bare minimum length. We're going to fit these in. That means stretching them out, just like that. You can see right here. Cutting them back till they just get in there and touch, or get in there and hook onto me to the parts I want them to contact. All right. So here we go. And again, if I cut them too short, well, I've got other ones to put in there. And I'll test this before I cut the other one to make sure how much length I've got left to work with. Alrighty. So don't cut off too much. And I always J-hook these guys. See the little J-hooks on them? And when I get them on there and onto the part, which just goes in the middle one, I will close up that J-hook. And right now they're on there very tightly, but I can still bend them upwards if I have to, close them up some. And I know how much space I've got is within this little drawing here, but I can always lean these over on the sides of them. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and lean this over like this, and then when it's got to come into position, I can do that when I want to. But you can see how much space or length I actually took off that one capacitor, and I have to do the same with this next one. So let's go ahead and get that off the pot, off the potentiometer. I don't have to be too careful about the legs, I just got to be careful about the pot's leg. I've only got one set of these pots. I've got a different type of push-pulls, but you've seen that in the other videos I've worked with. And if I had plenty of space, like in the Les Paul, I would use those. They're a little bit better. They offer you more options than these do. But then again, like I'm telling you, I'm just doing a push-pull on this. Okay, so I'll let these things out. I'm going to straighten them out first of all. Straighten these legs out. A bit straighter than they are. So the kind of length I got on them. And that you can just do by squeezing them with the needle nose. And I've got plenty of length on these things. So I'm going to go from the middle to the end on these pots. So all I'll do is cut this one off first. Take about that much off. Put a J-hook in it. Sorry it's off camera, guys. I just got to get to it. So I'll roll a J-hook on this one. It goes on the leg here. And I'll test measure it against the center one on this one. I can go about that bend on it to get a nice J-hook on it. I'll get too much J-hook. Let's see if I can still work this. Yeah, I still got enough room. Now it does pull on the pot, but that's okay. Like I said, later on, if I got an issue about this being too tall in the cavity, which I'm pretty sure I will, I can always lean them backwards. But I want to lean them backwards where you can see when you open the cavity up what you're looking at. What is the value of that pot? And also, what I always do is once I fill up these legs with every part that needs to go on there, I'll go ahead and solder those up. Hang in there. The only thing going to the center leg on this pot is the capacitor itself and a lead wire to the three-way that controls you know, which pickup you're actually on. So that needs to get soldered in. Okie dokie, and a pretty good blob of it. Hold it in place, it doesn't stray anywhere. That's a solid connection right there. And I want to just basically hit that top part of that wiring to hold it in place so it doesn't wander off and touch something else. Yeah, it's a little bit much, but there it is. And it will not wander, I don't think. Let's test it. No, it's not going anywhere. Well, maybe it will. No, that's the other leg moving. Okay, so it's not going to wander anywhere. Even though I bend it, I have to shoot it with some more solders to hold it in place. When I push it down, but I have to figure out first of all which direction to push it once it's in the body cavity. All kind of play as you go, you know what I'm saying? All kind of by ear. But first things first, I want to hear these pickups work before I put this in the body of that guitar and do any drastic changes to it that need to take place. Such as, you ask, I've got to install a piece of wood in that cavity that held that three-way. Cover that up first of all from the inside and then fill it in from the outside so that I don't have any issues with that. I actually can use that space later on to hold one of these pots. Now the trick here is to get this thing wrapped right again so it doesn't touch anything and those loose wires don't go anywhere, and it never fails, those wires like to spread. But you want to keep them as tight and concise as you possibly can and still have access to that eyelet. So you can put that solder right down on it, just like this. And then also grab that loose wiring and cover it up very quickly. You don't want to heat that cap. You don't want to heat that cap up, which I've not done. So those are on there now where they belong. Always clean the tip of your soldering iron off. And I think I've shown this before, guys. This is what I use to clean the tip. It's just copper spun wire that gets that solder off and cleans up that tip so you don't have to worry about the heat being correct. Now let's see what else I can solder up. Now I won't be soldering up the pickups until this thing is ready to go into the body. Those will be the last things I do, but I will pre-wire them and test them beforehand. So now each of these green wires excuse me, has got to go to the back side of these pots. They ground there. Well, that wire is way too long. Sorry guys. This green wire has got to go to the back of this pot, or to a part of this pot, metal part, that it can ground to. And I've got way too much length on the wire, just, you know, for access sake. And I have to trim that down. But that's the only thing that goes to that pot leg, is this ground wire. So come in here, wire this thing up nice and tight, then I'll trim it so that it's not rubbing up against something inside the body. But since it's going to be a tight fit, there's going to be issues about space, I want to make sure I get a good level of solder and wire so this thing is not going to come loose. Come on, baby. There you go. See, that's going to hold. Yeah, that's holding. Alright. Then I'll take and cut it and wrap it, or it's much closer than this that you see right now. There's a loop there. Much closer than that. because it won't need to be stretched. It'll be, you know, basically in the way if I leave too much gap on it. So I want to come straight down, probably to the side of this, which means I need to score it on this side to go along with the lettering that's on it, so I get a good spot to adhere to. But I want one to put on the front of this, which is really the ideal place to put it since space is an issue. If you do that, I've come to find out you'll have problems later on with things being bent and pushed, you know, get in the way. So I'm going to trim this down, not like that. Let me plenty of extra space or length to work with. And come around to the side of it like that. And the trick is to be able to hold this in place long enough to solder it so it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, now what do I have I can use to hold that in place? I've got my little free hands magnifying glass, a little helpful soldering tool that you get with a pack of Cheerios. Right, it's falling apart. I had it so long, guys, it's just coming all to pieces. And I'm trying to use this little tool here, this little mirror, sorry, this little magnifying glass with its extension arms, try to hold that ground wire in place. And basically what I need to do is pull it up and hold it in against the body of this pot. It almost wants to do it all by itself, but still there's a gap there, guys. Oh man. Okay, I don't know if you can see this or not. That was not too easy to do. I will go back and put some more solder on that, but it's holding right now where it belongs without a lot of pressure on it, such as trying to put the knob back on improperly. There shouldn't be any issues because nothing, it won't be rubbing up against anything. And now all I gotta do is the very same thing over here on this side. You can see this? Yeah. Okay, so I gotta do the very same thing on this side. And what I want is enough lead wire here so I can wrap this thing around this and hold it very tightly. Make sure there's no stray wires coming off of it. So I'll wrap that around. When I close it up, there'll be no stray wires. And then I'll trim this other one and get it set up so I can cut it to shape and length. Well, you're gonna be stubborn, aren't you? There it goes. Okay. I still want to get some more on that wiring on the inside right there. You may not be able to see this, guys, but I can. I gotta make sure I close this thing up. Oh, there it goes. Very tightly closed. No future stray wires on that. And what I'll do is I'll do the very same thing, come here on the inside and cut it after I've scored that area with those tweezers. First of all, I gotta cut this thing loose. It's just too long. And then expose some of this wire. Okay. I gotta loosely twist these guys and get it to hold up against that side there where it belongs. Okay, I'll need to use this again, but first, like I said, I'm gonna score it up. Make sure I got enough good lines in this thing, along with the lettering. So there's a rough area for this to adhere to. You don't want polished sides. There should be enough lettering there to do this with alone, even without the scoring. Then I gotta get this leg in there, this arm in there to hold us against this thing. Just like that, and hopefully it'll draw to it once it gets going. Just like that. Take that off. Yeah, there we go. That worked like a champ. Okay, good, good, good. And like I said, what's happening is that solder is actually adhering to those letters, those indented letter spaces, getting in there and helping to help form and hold this thing in place. So, what do you do next, guys? So I have to cut away and come back and do some more grounding. There's a lot of grounding done on this setup. Okay, if you look closely, guys, what I've done, retrofitted this little cap of putting some heat shrink on that leg, simply because the wire next to it wants to travel and touch the darn thing. And that we cannot have, alright? So, I will be taking this other leg off and putting some heat shrink on it as well, because I don't want these to be a short problem. So I'm wiring up this right here with a heat shrink sleeve to keep it away from other parts, and that would be a no-no. Alright, so I cut it right about there and back a bit for that J-hook. It doesn't take much, but I want to make sure that nothing touches it. It's out of the ordinary, because it's going to be manipulated inside the circuit itself. Alright, where's my hook? Is it totally gone now? Oh shoot, it's upwards now. Okay, let's bend it like that. Get it back into the pot. I tell you guys, sometimes it's not too easy to get here and work with this and make sure that I get the camera on it as well. So if you're not seeing it, sorry. And it's very awkward trying to get my hands out of the way and instead of just picking this thing up and seeing it real close, be able to do this job, because I'm not there yet. So it looks like I'm being awkward. I am. Alright, that's got it now. Anything that touches it or rubs up against it, it's not going to cause a short. So I'll keep these heat shrink tubes out for a while, at least these two. Okay, so here we are. We're going to put the center line in, and it goes from the center of this volume to its ground on this side as well. Great. So the other side gets grounded too. First things first, I'll put it inside this loop, this eyelet, capture it very well, thank you. It's best if we can get this small to go with the needle nose. A little twist of a J-hook in it, and make sure the wires to it don't fray out, okay? That's what the biggest nightmare is, have a short or a hum or a buzz because you've got wires that have shorted against each other. And it could take the little tiniest wire, guys, to do it. Just one single strand of this 22 wire, if it's touching the wrong part, you will get a problem. Your circuit won't work. That's what's very frustrating sometimes. And that's another reason why a lot of techs have these big magnifying lamps like mine. Which mine's giving me fits right now. And so is this thing. Okay, now it's separated from everything. Okay, so let's get that soldered up here real quickly. Now it's not touching anything. Hopefully it doesn't fall and touch anything. And I know it sounds crazy, guys, but trust me, it's the way it goes. That's the real truth of the matter. Alright, so I'm going to capture this entire leg here, and it's falling right up against what I don't want to fall against. Get the hell back over there. So I'm trying to shut down the leg, the opening, the hole. like that and capture that part, which I think that's done it. I'll dip it in my little cleaner I showed you earlier. And yes, it has captured it very tightly, very nicely, thank you. And now I gotta bring it around, as you can see. I think you can see this. Bring it around here. I'll hold it with my little extra hand set. But first of all, I'm gonna score up a little bit on this. And this one's this particular wire is a lighter gauge, so it won't be as hard to hold it in place, I hope. Because that is half the battle, holding it in place. And guys, trying to do this, you know, with just two hands, give it up. You know, just give up on that idea. This also works like a heat sink. So I gotta get this thing in there, grab this wire in the right direction, and now push this against the part. Like that. Still not against it. Now it is. Now when I solder this, it'll go in those little indented letters as well as the scratchings I put on it. And it should hold very nicely. Like that. Of course, I got to take that helping hand off there very gently so I don't pull it right back off again. Alright, like that, which I almost pulled it right off again. But it is captured, and it's captured on there very nicely, so that's what I want. Okay, not too much heat, but it got the job done. Okay, let's zoom in on this a little bit more. And what's got going on right now, a friend of mine just asked me, why are you doing this again? I took that wire off the post, and it's to get those frays out of the equation. If you'd look real close, you'd see that wires had frayed off, and you know, if they travel and touch something, it's really going to be a, you know, what's wrong with this? What did I do wrong? Kind of thing. So I'd rather do that than try to capture everything within the solder and try to push it back down into position. So I just take it off, retwist it back up again, right, and put it back across the inside the pot with a J-hook and an extra twist, because there's going to be so much movement. When I get this off my template, I've got to be real close to one another. Now I may end up putting a shim between these so they don't touch, but they actually get closer than they are right now, side by side, okay? Because they're real close now, and they're a little bit outside the template, simply because I have to have enough room to work with, right? Work within. But that should work right there. Let's go ahead and solder that down, hold it in position. Make sure I capture that hole. By capture, what I mean, guys, is I fill in the hole completely. Why don't you just say fill in the hole? Well, it's because I'm capturing this wire by filling in the hole. So it doesn't ever go anywhere again. Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere again. And I'm still not captured the hole yet. There's still open space right there that I got to fill in, because that's subject to failure. And I'm doing it real quick at low temperatures for this soldering iron. You don't need a lot of high temp on this to get the job done. Right now, score the side of it like I did the other one. And I'll go with the lettering again, if I can get on it right. So that actually captures within that lettering right there. Now, get that cleaned off, so I just put my finger on it. And that, we don't want oil or dirt from my fingers on this. Of course, I keep my hands clean, guys. I use a cleaning agent, you know, hand sanitizer stuff. Use that all the time, because I am touching parts that just don't do too well if you get your hand goo all over them. Now, this wiring is a different subject. It's going to heat up, and anything that I may have put on there is going to come right off when the heat hits it from the soldering iron. Of course, now, how do I get this thing to stand up like where it belongs? and in position, so my helping hands actually help me and not hinder me. Just right about there. I gotta get it over closer to the part. Okay, with plenty of bending and monkeying about, I finally got it on there. So it's actually touching the part. Okay, so here we go. And again, the trick is not just getting it on there, the solder on there, and the part on there, but when I remove this little alligator clip, I don't end up pulling it right off again. So I'll give it plenty of time to solder up. But again, guys, the trick is not too much heat that you end up just burning your solder up or screwing up your pot from the heat. All right, let's give that a nice minute to cool down because it does heat up.